the first battle of the content championship.
Yes, our new segment, still fresh off the press.
Yeah, we gave a little taster last week, so if you want to get up to speed on how that works, go watch that.
I agree.
This week,
a good one.
We've got the Clone Wars, the animated TV show, up against Ben 10, the OG series, also an animated TV show. Both aired mostly at a similar time.
Yeah.
You ready to get into this?
Here we go. I'm ready. I already have my thoughts on my.
Yeah. So, reminder of the categories that we discussed to rank.
Yes.
Personal relevance. How well it is aged and rewatchability. These are very individual and objective categories. Then we have 3 more analytical, more subjective categories in story, acting, and cinematography. Although we do need to think of a better word than cinematography, because it's more just the visuals all together and how it looks.
Yes.
Which is more than just cinematography. So these are what we will discuss for each of them, and then we will use the information we collect to decide what is better. I think that about sums up how this works, Horry. Do you agree?
I would agree.
Awesome. So, with that said, should we get into the personal relevance?
Oh, do you just want to crown Clone Wars now?
Right. No. I think this is closer than you think it is. I think you were too old to fully appreciate Ben 10.
Maybe that's the case. Not the fact that Clone Wars is the superior show. Personal relevance. I mean, you say this about being too old. And my one of my points I put down as a note was I wasn't much of a Ben 10 kid. I think it came out. I've looked it up. It came out in 2005 to 2008, and Clone Wars was 2008 to technically 2020, but the last season was huge gap.
Yeah,
I was it's like that weird high school age where you kind of slowly are watching less and less cartoons, or less and less CBBC and that time period of TV, like time slot. So, I mean, for me, personal relevance, Clone Wars holds out way high, way more. I don't really have much of a hold on Ben 10 in that category for me.
That's fair.
Especially on top of just my love for Star Wars as well.
So in personal relevance, because I've written notes for both sides this week.
Oh.
Clone Wars. It is iconic, and it elevates all other Star Wars media with the context it adds to the world.
Yep.
But with Ben 10, it feels like the last genuinely unique piece of children's media, as well as being fun and different and just perfect energy for what a children's cartoon should be.
I could agree with that.
I can't think of anything that's come out since that isn't Star Wars, Marvel, like a big brand that already existed that is that unique and well put together.
Yeah, no, I can't either.
Yeah, it's actually obscene how cohesive that universe is.
I wonder, it probably isn't really that many, but I wonder how many, if there's writers from Ben 10 went on to be, or people that worked on Ben 10 went on to work for MCU and stuff, because it's
I wonder.
Working on a bigger universe.
Also, when I was younger, before my voice dropped, I could do a mean forearms impression. Fuming that my voice dropping and puberty ruined that for me. Forearms was one of the aliens he could turn into, one of the original 10.
Do you know what's funny? It's I know that, I just have no recollection of what he sounds like.
He was red and he had 4 arms. The naming was brilliant.
I mean, we can't complain about naming when Marvel has
not at all.
Spider-Man.
Yeah, but you had Accelerate, who was really fast, and you had Heatwave, who was on fire, and Ghostface, who was a ghost.
At least they don't do alliteration.
Brilliant. How well is it aged?
So here's kind of leaning back into not much association with Ben 10, but like I appreciate that it's still discussed and still somewhat loved as like Ben 10 was a great show when I was younger. I would say for me, like in my opinion though, Clone Wars has aged a lot better because of what it added to the prequels, what has been kind of even elevated in Clone Wars through other shows, and like things we've seen from like Bad Batch and Rebels and Kenobi, like and Mando, like all these things that have pulled things from Clone Wars that then have, I feel, have made it age even better. And I mean that final season, like it had time to age, and then they dropped the final season, which was a beautiful way to close out that series.
Yeah. So I have a couple of thoughts here.
Okay.
So Clone Wars. Age is better with every new Disney Plus show at the minute.
Mm,
Because a lot of Disney Plus shows at the minute use a lot of the Clone Wars references.
yes.
However, there is too much filler in the Clone Wars shows. There is a lot of arcs that you don't need to watch. Now that
For
might change,
now.
but at the minute there is a lot of filler shit.
But go on, no, carry on.
However, with Ben 10, franchise has mainly been left to die. There was 2 straight to TV live action films done. One of them was okay, one of them was terrible. I can't remember which one's which. And there was a poor reboot a couple of years back. You know, like they do with a lot of iconic children shows where they reboot it with a new animation style and it looks horrific.
Yep.
That. So I don't. Ben 10 itself, the show has aged just fine, but they have done a lot to hurt the franchise since.
Yeah. And like, even though you say Clone Wars has a lot of filler, I just hear there's a lot of potential, just unaged yet content. Like it's primed for aging because you're just waiting for Star Wars to go. Oh, by the way, here's a reference to this one random episode. Now has all the meaning in the world.
I know. I get that, and that's why like it does age better with every new Disney Plus show, which is what I said. But at the moment, there is still far too much filler shit, and there is no way all of that filler shit is going to be turned into meaningful content. A lot of that will be because it
No,
was a children's show and they wanted 24 episodes a season.
but the stuff that isn't filler has aged like a
Yeah.
fine wine.
100%. Rewatchability. I'm going to go first here.
Okay.
Clone Wars, meh. Ben 10, even more meh.
My notes.
That TV shows are, as a general part, inherently more difficult to rewatch from films, I think.
Agreed.
But also, the amount of filler means a lot of people, at least from my experience, who do rewatch Clone Wars, have episodes that they skip, on arcs they skip. They'll go, okay, this is that 3 episodes there. I'm just gonna skip that, which I think has to be a knock on the rewatchability of it.
So my rewatchability notes was Ben 10. I don't care. Clone Wars would happily rewatch the important stuff and the entirety of the final season.
There. So you do agree with me? It is meh and even
there
more
is,
meh.
Well, there is like, if I had the time and commitment, I would rewatch the whole
And
thing.
there was
because
nothing else
like
new coming out.
I would happily, like I could happily sit and rewatch the whole thing. I just don't have the time to do that, or like the spare time willing to spend on that. So if I was to ever go back to Clone Wars, it's like there is a rewatch list of like what episodes are the important ones for character development, and then generally all those lists go and the entirety of the final season.
Yeah. I'd say the final season is the only season where you have to watch everything, and that is why it was 12 episodes long, or whatever it was.
And I feel because the final season is so rewatchable, that trumps Ben 10 easily. Just that alone. Because I care like not at all to watch any of Ben 10, but I definitely would watch the final season of Clone Wars. So
okay, on to the story. Clone Wars. It's just Star Wars. I'm joking. That's not what I've written. I felt your jaw
Ooh,
tense from here.
ooh. I
Um,
felt the fans running down the streets.
it has many smaller arcs, some of which are peak content, peak Star Wars, completely unbeatable. But as we've said a number of times already, a lot of the filler stuff is 100% filler stuff, and you probably can't even remember the filler stuff. It's that, eh. But even the filler stuff is still okay story. It's just nothing massively important.
Mm.
Ben 10, no skips.
No skips. That's just
I mean, it's 3 seasons, all of which is pretty important. It is
yeah.
no skips. It was designed to be no skips.
Well, yeah.
When it was getting to the point where they were running out of things to do, they went on to the next iteration of Ben 10, which was Alien Force or whatever, where he was like a teenager.
So I didn't really point him for Ben 10 because I don't know really what the story of Ben 10 is, other than he has abilities and he can change to aliens.
Little boy gets space watch that gives him the
Yeah.
ability to transform into 10 different aliens who all have basically one superpower. It gets more convoluted because he starts to unlock new aliens.
Oh,
Ben
okay.
10 would have made a phenomenal RPG.
Yeah. I did not
Um,
try and make a game of it at one point.
yes, there was, and it was actually very good. By the end, there is a future version of Ben that comes from the future to help. That is Ben 10,000, and he has 10,000 aliens he can transform into because he's unlocked the full power of the Omnitrix,
Right, yeah.
which because the Omnitrix is like a weapon that was designed for like space police,
Right, got you.
and it accidentally got fused to him.
Got you.
And then eventually he proves he can be trusted with it, and they're like, "Fuck it, kid! Here, have all of the aliens."
For Clone Wars, I have like we've said, a lot of fill and not so important story arcs. But I would say that the story there is a very strong central storyline of Anakin's growth and his development as a character. And the story, although the what went on wasn't maybe very memorable, it did an excellent job with its story of making you fall in love with the clones and actually
Yes,
giving some weight to each of them as an individual.
the Clone Wars turned Order 66 in from a moment from Revenge of the Sith that's kind of cool to the most heart-wrenching,
Yes.
gut-wrenching, horrible thing that at every opportunity they throw in our face just to get cheap emotion.
And I feel like yes, Ben 10's a no skip and you can watch it all for the story. It probably has a very cool story, but I do feel like the strength of that central storyline of like Anakin and knowing the clones.
Let me put it this way. Clone Wars has peaks and valleys. Ben 10 is a flat desert. You know what you're going to get with Ben 10, and you're not going to be disappointed. But then peaks in Clone Wars are just so damn good.
Mm, they really are.
Yeah. Acting. Again, I don't have a lot of notes here.
Will it be
It's
voice
trickier when
acting?
it's just voice acting.
Yeah.
Clone Wars. Better than the prequel movies. There are some very skeptical bits of acting in the prequels.
Agreed.
And then for Ben 10, I went for a TV show in the mid 2000s. It goes hard, and it
Right.
really does. It's actually really good voice acting for a Cartoon Network show in the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, I mean it was Cartoon Network. Like they had their decent voice
They
actors.
they actually have a very good reputation for very good voice
Yeah,
acting. You've got to give it to them.
I would say with Clone Wars, there's majority of it's like yeah, it's like it's better than like you said, better than the prequels. I'd say there's certain characters where it's like Darth Maul, the I forget his name, the voice actor for him.
Yeah.
He does incredible as um Darth Maul, and even though like he hasn't got huge moments in that series, but
Ray
him,
Ray Whittaker.
The-
Witwer.
yes, and the voice actor for Kenobi in the
Kenobi!
in the series, he
Yeah, I
is
mean that's a
excellent.
very famous voice actor who's done loads of roles.
So there's like the ones that were like their big name characters. I think they did like great performances with their voice acting. Um, and I know Ahsoka's voice actor has. I mean, now that she's come into live action, has played a huge part in helping kind of transfer that to the live screen.
Yeah. Um,
Cinematography,
yeah. So this is obviously for this going to be more about the animation styles.
yeah,
Um, so for Ben 10, I went very traditionally animated, but the alien designs are flawless.
yeah,
The design for the aliens in Ben 10 is really really good, really really impressive. I love the
yeah.
creativity from it. You can't do much better.
No,
Um,
and yeah, I would agree on that.
and then with
Clone
Clone
Wars.
Wars, I said not massively unique. I don't think it does anything to really differentiate itself, but it is a very high quality animation nonetheless. Um, and it makes sure that it's consistent.
Yeah, so Ben 10, I haven't really got any. I would agree on like the character design and stuff for Ben 10. As you say, very unique. They knew what they needed to create, and they like it had to be iconic, like looking characters. Like easy, it's a kid show. Like they nailed it with what they needed to achieve with that show. Clone Wars, I would say, kind of has like an upwards curve on like it starts off as like yeah, it's nothing crazy. If anything, the first season I would say was a bit rougher on them, like trying to find what animated Star Wars looks like and not because I know they did struggle with kind of going into it with the film mindset, and that doesn't necessarily always translate in animation or get you
Yeah,
the best things, shots and stuff. But I would say by that like that final season of Clone Wars has some like incredible moments through animation, just like with music and like the final scene where Anakin's final, what people call Anakin's final moment when he goes to Ahsoka's crash ship, like those like moments very impactful through the animation, even though it's nothing crazy, like you say, very high quality by the end of it.
mm, yeah. They didn't. I think the best way to put it is like when it comes to like good food, there's a
Mm,
couple of ways to good food. You either take cheap, crappy ingredients, and a masterful chef turns them into something edible,
mm-hmm.
or you get really good quality ingredients and you don't fuck with them. That's what Clone Wars did. It went, we are going to do really clean, solid animation. We're not going to try anything fancy, and we're just
Mm,
not going to fuck with it. We're going to make sure that everything is clean, easy to look at. We don't want to do like an anime studio where we try a brand new style. That's what they ended up using Visions for.
yeah.
We're going to do a very consistent style that's easy to maintain, but we're going to make sure it is of the highest quality.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you can't fault it. I mean, as much as I love Ben 10, Clone Wars does win.
Yeah.
I think Ben 10 does deserve more respect than you were giving it, though.
To be honest, for the most part, it was me trolling. Mainly all came from I wasn't a Ben 10 kid, and then like I think we said at the beginning, like I was
Like
at
you
that
then, Rob.
age that I was at the age where it's like it started coming out, but I was kind of past it.
Yeah, I get
Um,
that.
so I've never given it much time or weight. So because of that, it's like I have no attachment or anything to it. Whereas Clone Wars is like huge. I love Clone Wars. I think it's done phenomenal things for the Star Wars franchise, um, past and present. Like it's fixed a lot of things and it's set up a lot of new stuff that is just producing.
How many episodes are there?
Of Clone Wars,
No, no, Ben 10.
oh,
The original series
mm-hmm.
was 4 seasons of 13 episodes. It's
So
only
what's that?
50 episodes of the
I was
first
gonna say that's like
original series.
50, 52. Yeah,
Yeah.
52.
It was like tight. It didn't fuck about.
So I have the
And then
Clone Wars is
Then they went
133.
yeah. And then there was 52 episodes of Ultimate Alien as well, which is where he's a teenager,
Right,
which was
okay.
which was really, really good. I would love it if maybe not a Marvel, but like someone with enough money
Mm,
bought the rights to Ben 10, turned it into an ongoing comic because that could slap,
yeah.
and then gave us a high quality animated show
Yeah.
because it could be so damn good. But yeah, that is our content championship for the week.
First of
And
the bracket.
yeah, our first winner is Clone Wars. We don't know who they'll be going on to face yet, but they'll be facing someone eventually.
They will. And it'll be interesting to see if anyone is strong enough to get in the race.
Indeed, 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 indeed. Um,